So I'd be living with that kind of anxiety.
That
loss.
is a realistic fear I've never thought about when I watch Sword Online or Dot Hack. That's totally possible. What if they just turn off your power because you've been stuck in a video game for months?
Yeah, where they're just like, this fucking deadbeat, let's turn off his electricity. And it's like, Alex has logged off. He has died. And I'm like, shit. We had 90 days. I knew it.
Hello and welcome. My name is J.E. and with me today is my good old friend, Alexander Gonzalez.
Ayo.
And please remember that we are not game devs. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm full of COVID, Jay. How are you?
You are. I'm doing better than you, apparently.
I have Omicron, so dry cough, itchy throat, nasal congestion, headaches, fevers. Still have my taste, though. They edited that one out, and that's pretty cool.
When I had it a couple weeks back, I actually lost my taste when I was recovering. So after I got it, or after it passed, I couldn't taste things for like 3 days.
Huh. I hope that doesn't happen to me.
I mean,
because I don't like it when I still eat something that I shouldn't eat. And I'm like, so it is more than just taste. It's like chemical factors going on here.
Every time I get sick enough where I can't taste anything, I'm always like, should I start like binging on stuff I hate to get those nutrients in me? Because I never eat fish.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
And I know there's like good stuff in fish that you can't really get anywhere else. Maybe I should just throw a bass on the fucking thing because I can't taste anything. But then my fear is I'm still going to taste it even when I can't.
That you do. You gag. Like I gag a little bit just in the sense that taste is so much like the chemical, the texture and everything that like your brain will remember.
Exactly. But those are not the flavors we are talking about today. Today, we are creating something new. Every week, we are not game devs will create a new, exciting video game idea that we have always wanted to play, but do not have any knowledge or know-how to create the wonderful experience that are video games. Today is my turn to present We Are Not Game Devs, 189th IP. We have been talking a lot and creating a lot of assassination, spy, secret agent games in recent times.
Now we're going to be making mechanical droid games based off Horizon Zero Dawn.
Perhaps, but we're not there yet because I am making another assassin, hitman, secret agent game. And I've done a game similar to this before, but it's going to have a little bit more of a difference to it where the whole game is leading up to a hit, right?
Right.
Let's say in this game, you don't have a time limit for this hit. You're a professional that your job is to make hits look completely accidental and no one could trace it back to anything. Like that is your specialty. And this is an exclusive hit to someone who is really, really high up. And we need whoever hired you needs them to be taken out. And that could all be part of this overarching story that we build around this character or whatever, blah, 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 blah. The whole mechanic and the way this game is played is you as the hitman or whatever is going into this town. And it's going to be this open world where you could walk through this entire town and interact with all the people and talk and like get more information. But the main way you're playing the game is you find places that are looking for new employees and are finding out or trying to get hires, right? And you apply to these places, and that's part of the game where you try to get jobs at these places. And through that job, you're learning more about your hit. So maybe you get a job at a restaurant as like a waiter, and your hit comes in as a patron. And so you serve them and you learn more information about your hit, right? And then through this restaurant job, you find out your hit has a connection, let's say, through a food distribution place. And so you get a job at the fruit factory that your hit target owns or works out of to do some kind of shady thing going on. And then you find out more information at this other job. And there's all these other jobs available for you around this town, like at the coffee shop. And then that leads to another thing that leads to another thing. And you could do all these jobs, but then when you get to the end, you could find out multiple ways to kill your target once you moved up to like certain, like maybe you become an executive at some company that works closely with him, or maybe you become like his personal chef or something. Like there's paths that you could take that all build up to something, but you're slowly learning things by doing odd jobs around. And I think a second main mechanic is you have to disguise yourself for each job, so your target won't be like, aren't you the guy who served me in my coffee last week, while you're like putting a like tuxedo, like fitting him for a tuxedo or something. What do you think?
I think this game could be really, really cool. What I want to do is kind of take it and, make it an open world game and make it where you, instead of you just focusing on your one hit, like you go to a town and you immerse yourself because you know that who this guy is, because everybody in the town does, because he's the biggest boss and always has security. But for you to understand that, you need to get learning about people. Yeah. So it'd be like you going in and you would learn since everybody knows him, you'll get little pieces of information, which will start off in side missions. So I wanted to branch off like Grand Theft Auto, where you're slowly learning and going to different places in town. And like you do repeated missions. So like, let's say you're working at the clothing factory. You're doing repeated missions at the clothing factory. And you can always do this hit, kind of like Breath of the Wild, where he's always going to be available, but it would be so fucking hard that you would die. He would have henchmen. He would have security. Yeah. He would have different things where he wouldn't even be where you would think he would be. But I think it would be really cool to do that, where we're building up missions and making this little city, this fictitious town, like a cool place that we're building out, because you're getting to know everybody on it as you're doing missions and trying to figure out who everybody is.
Yeah. Couple things. I really like what you just said, because one, you're going into the same train of thought where I think the target of yours is like some kind of gang related big boss. He owns this town. So everyone knows who he is.
He's got his hands in everything.
Yeah, and everyone actually kind of loves him. Like he's actually a really likable dude.
He takes care of you.
Yeah, he does really shady shit to get to where he is, and that's why he owns this whole town. But no one says anything bad about him because he treats everyone nicely and gives out, I don't know, fucking money to the kids and shit. He does like typical big boss.
He takes care of the town, but people know that he has a reputation for being mean and being a ruthless businessman.
Exactly. And at first I had no idea how this game would play, like what you're doing from moment to moment. But when you said this is going to be kind of like GTA, that fits perfectly. Yeah, GTA, you go from mission to mission, you go to this job, you go to that job, and you just do easy missions that are like a drive quest or like delivery quests and stuff like that, but very GTA
or walking with Granny to make sure that she doesn't fall, and then Granny gives you a piece of information, because I want there to be stuff like that where there's emergent gameplay so that you can get random pieces of information, of course, from leads and everything that's story based, but also if like you're waiting at a bus stop or if something's happening, things will unfold in front of you in such a way that will also give you small pieces if you choose to go that route. Like walk with Granny, wait at a bus stop, find out that people talk about this, or that a lot of the workers for a factory get on the bus at this time, and you find out they all carpool together, and then that's the new place you can work, as the factory. Stuff like that makes you want to pick up. And even if you're not going from a quest to quest, maybe you'll stop going to a quest to be like, well, what's going on here? Let me see what this is.
Yeah. And I think another aspect of the game could be you're earning money from all these side jobs. And I think how the side jobs would work, it's kind of like how Persona would do it, where you could just go whenever you want, but then every time you go, you'll learn something new about your target, and then maybe it opens up more things to you. But I think you could spend money to buy better disguises, so you could and maybe getting more disguises will open up more career paths, because you can't take two different jobs but look like the same guy.
And I'm thinking it, like, to add on to that, different weapons, different outfits, the chance for different real estate. So if you have more money, you can buy a place that is more centrally located. So you don't just, as the game map expands out, you're going to be going to more places in town. So a better real estate would be important to you, especially if it has a garage where now you can keep one vehicle.
Right. And maybe
whereas you couldn't before.
It could be very much like how GTA is, where maybe at the start you start off just taking Ubers and stuff, taxis. Maybe eventually you could buy a bike, and then Eventually you'll buy a car, or like at first you have to use public transport, and then you eventually work your way up.
I do want to make it different where, just because of the scale of what we're doing and everything, I mean, we could have all modern cars, but I'd rather not. I'd rather it be like an island where, because of the way it is, there's like motorcycles, small cars, and like a rickshaw system, right. If you know what I mean.
I mean, it could be, just so the story would kind of make more sense, and technology won't be as advanced, and the people are more willing to work with a criminal or live under a criminal's town. I guess it would have to be in a fictional, kind of like a third world. I'm fine with like a tropical location. You know what I mean? Just because this type of town could not exist in America. You know what I mean? The type of shit that's happening. And also, I think that'll be just a fun town to drive around in and like get to learn and know and get to know characters and places to go and stuff like that.
And the reason I guess I'm trying to make the distinction, because now it's like, oh, if somebody were listening to this, they could say, well, isn't this just like Far Cry? I guess, but I think what I'm picking up from you is like the tone. We don't want it to be irreverent and funny all the time, but actually kind of take itself a little seriously while still having humor attached, which is, I think, the difference between these, and also making it more like a city system where shit isn't happening crazy all the time, but people are working, intermingling, and there's like this little schedule going on that like GTA has in their world, where it's more cohesive.
I think that is like Far Cry. I think that is the biggest difference in this game, where it's not you're going to camp, blowing everything up and gunning everyone down. I think
everything's just crazy.
Yeah, I think you could do that in this game, but it'll be like GTA, where if you gun stuff down, you're gonna get wanted. And you got to go run, because eventually you won't be able to take on all the cops that are behind you and after you. Unless you're really good and you got all the best guns and stuff. You probably won't be able to do a 5-star runaway early on in the game. So I think there's going to be moments in this game where there is combat, but I think especially with the way the story goes out, you're not going to be doing too much fighting. If anything, I think you'll get like mini hits where like during a mission, maybe you find out like, oh, this guy is like one of his high ranking generals. If I could take him out, it'll like help. Maybe it'll be like that, like a Mafia. You never played Mafia, but it'll be kind of like Mafia, where you could take out his like generals, and that kind of adds to the story to get closer to him, because now he's going to be panicking because he doesn't have like his henchmen below him, and now he has to like do more work than he had to before, because now the person who was taking care of that particular racket or whatever isn't there anymore. And so you like, maybe the side quests or the main quests that you're taking on when you're doing these jobs is to get to the top person, to take them out, and then it'll just make it easier to get the hit.
And not just taking them out, but you become friends with them, or they give you information because they want you to go through, or they become acquaintances and they don't know necessarily what your job is, or what your overlying goal is, but they just want to help you, or you guys just get along in common.
Yeah. Maybe it could go both ways. You could either go like the non-violent, no-kill route, or you could just go and kill all his agents and kill all his generals. Or like you said, befriend them, and then maybe one of the endings is, instead of killing your hit, you just get him shunned from the underground world, and that's like a good.
And you take over as his like position,
right? Or like, I don't know, shut it down from the inside, and there could be like multiple endings depending on how you do it. So I guess it'll be kind of like Mafia in that sense. I know, again, you haven't played Mafia, but it'll be like, there'll be multiple endings depending on how you decide to go about it. And maybe we could even have like a conversion system where you could like let one of his generals in on what you're trying to do, and then like have him be a double agent for you. And there'll be like those kind of mechanics in there as well.
So you could have like your own agents, so to say.
Right. And
I think this is where it'll go, where eventually you'll be part of his organization too, unless you just never do those missions.
Yeah.
Because again, the whole thing is he's available the whole time. So you can take it whatever way you want to and kind of color your character that way. If I were playing, I'd be the type of dude where at the end of it's like, my guy's a gardener, a zookeeper, happens to be a criminal mastermind, like rank 1. But some people, maybe they only go the route of helping out townsfolk, becoming like a school teacher, and then doing archery, and then they just like snipe him when they see him out one day.
Exactly. And I think I would have that same experience where I get in and I would be the guy who literally does every single job possible and see everything available. And then when I get to the end and have to do the conclusion, it's like, well, you convinced all the generals to be on your side because you literally did everything. And I think
and every townsperson loves you, from man, woman, and child. So we all elect you to be the new mayor. We will do whatever you want.
It's going to be, that's how my gameplay will turn out. But I think also there'll be things where, like, if you get in the alcohol, like, distilling job and also the restaurateur job, you could like work together, and then that'll bring you a benefit where, like, having both jobs will benefit you in some way where, like, it'll get you to him quicker or her quicker or whatever, your target quicker. But yeah, I think it'll just be, I guess the game will be very low action if you choose to be, or very, very chaotic with a lot of shooting as well, if you choose to be. Differences would be the way the story is told and multiple different endings, like a lot of different endings, I feel like, is how
probably like a different ending portion of the game. Because if you've been like in Act 1 through 3, if you've been shooting up the town, in Act 4, I would imagine more residents to be armed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like what's it called? Dynamic stuff happening to what you do to the game.
Yeah, where it's just more violent because it's like a small community anyway. So
right, maybe if you start causing more chaos in the shadows, like, the civilians will get scared and start protecting themselves with weapons and stuff.
They're like, fuck that guy, dude. He's blowing shit up everywhere. I'm getting myself a gun.
But remember, I think I want disguises to be a big part of this game, where, like, you have to wear the right disguise to the job. So kind of remember how you dressed. And we'll make it kind of easy where you could, like, make notes and stuff. But I think, like, that'll be part of the game, is dressing up, going to that job, and then trying to blend in. And maybe remembering some people's names and stuff would be, like, important to the mechanics to the game. So I think writing notes will happen all in the game. Like, I think it'll all be available to you, but you just kind of either have to reference your notes or just kind of remember, type of thing. All right. What kind of music are we listening to?
You could make this its own cultural music. We haven't said what this culture is or anything like that. If it's an island, you could take it any which way. Yeah,
I think we'll have, if it's going to be like GTA / Mafia / those style of game, we could have that traditional radio wheel with all sorts of genres. Talk show, we'll have like fake radio talk shows on there talking about the current events that are happening in game. We could have like a lot of stations. I think would be fun to have it like set kind of to that tropical vibe. So maybe we'll have like a reggaeton channel. Maybe we'll have like just straight up reggae channel. Like we'll have more like tropical genres of music. But then we'll have like the typical hip hop with like Western music, quote unquote, like classic rock and stuff like that. We'll have a little bit of everything.
All right, yeah. Spanish channel, what have you. A little bit of everything.
But I think very geared towards like Spanish influenced music,
Okay, so it'll be a Spanish influenced island.
Yeah, with very little radio channels to like Western American music.
Gotcha.
Pricing. Full pop?
Full pop.
$70. All right, Alex. Time to start your timer. Because it's time to name this game.
All right, and we will begin.
I feel like this is definitely like possible for like a GTA-esque, like there's going to be more than one, like GTA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has to be something like overarching name like that, I feel like. But
like Jefe.
What does that mean exactly?
I think really Jefe is a boss, right? Let me make sure. No, Jefe is chief. Or boss. Yeah, so Jefe is chief or boss. And also it translates to head as well. So
I see what you
just
mean. But what if we want Jefe 2 not to be tropical and it takes place in like a metropolitan area?
just a Latino guy. I guess you're throwing your bucket in with these people for the name. Here, let me see something else.
What if we named it just
What if we just
Undercover?
named it Coup d'etat?
What does that mean?
Damn it, Jay. Coup d'etat is where it's like it's an overthrow of government.
Oh, I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, the only reason I said damn it is it's one of those things that I know how to use in context, but I don't know how to like define it. But I know it's like an overthrow of government that's done.
We could just use the shortened version of it. That
Coup?
Yeah, coup.
That's what I was thinking too. Okay, I'm trying still to define it, but we did coup in 1 minute and 45 seconds. Coup is a game. Now, Coup kind of reminds me of an anime game. Coup-chan. Yeah. Coup. Fully. Coup is a game where you are trying to take down a boss and you are planted into a town that this boss has completely taken over. Starting from the ground up, you take odd jobs and make a name for yourself in this town, gain contacts, find leads, get a better house, establish yourself in the community until it's time to initiate the coup d'etat.
All right. So I think we have a game here, Alex. What do you think? Would this be a game you want to play? And is it fun?
Yeah, this would be a game I'd want to play. I'd enjoy it. I'd want to play it alongside other people because I wouldn't go out of my way to play a game like this where it's super serious. Like I haven't played Mafia or anything, but if I played with other people, I definitely want to get into it, especially with the whole like focus on small town aspects.
For sure. Yeah, I think this would definitely be a game I would love and just explore the shit out of the city, get to really learn it and know it really well. Because I think it's not going to be quite as big as the GTA 5 Los Santos, but it's going to be big enough where it feels big and open like a real city, but small enough where you could learn it super quickly, it's super well, and it's easy to navigate because I also feel like it's going to be a pretty basic town with like the obvious beach downtown pier area, and then it'll have like the residential area and kind of like a little business area and then like a recreational area. It's going to be pretty easy to traverse, I feel, and hopefully super interesting. And maybe we'll even include like small Yakuza-esque or even GTA like mini games in there where you could go to the bar and play darts, or you could go, I don't know, karaoke,
drinking,
and
like game. Or we can just add it in like a small baseball mini sim. Where like you go to batting cages or whatnot, stuff like that.
Right, stuff like that. I definitely feel that we could add small things just to make the world feel more alive. And it's definitely the type of game that I love playing, especially if I'm in the mood to play that type of game. And there's not that many anymore. Like GTA likes were all over at a certain point, and they've slowly turned into straight up open world games, which they're very similar to GTA style games. But you know what I mean? When you say GTA,
right,
there's a specific open world feel to it that you just don't get anymore. And I'll be really excited if Coup became reality. But now that we have a complete game, what game studio would you give Coup to make it the best?
This is a hard one. Let's see. Do you have any on the top of your mind?
I've mentioned Mafia a bunch. Illusion Softworks, but I feel like Mafia 3 was made by someone else. Hangar 13, yes. What impressed me the most, and I still suggest that you try out Mafia 3, but what impressed me the most about Mafia 3 is how many branching paths there were in the story and how many different endings and small little story details they added. They had a cutscene. If you gave if you gave 2 rackets to this person and only 1 to that person and 0 to others, there's a cutscene for that versus if you gave it 220 versus 400 versus 112. Like there was a cutscene for every single one of those that changed, and then that affected the next time you gave them rackets, and then you gave it to the person who still had the most, or gave them to the person who had zero. Like there's such small detail. I don't know how they did it, Hangar 13. They made so many possible endings. I was like, how did they do this? It was fantastic. And it was also a GTA style game. And I think, Hangar 13 would be perfect for this.
I need to go try that game. That's an interesting, good choice. I was thinking about IO Interactive. If after Hitman, they were to do something like this, open world, but still have kind of like that serious thing where you're, gaining disguises, doing different mini events, maybe have different mini assassinations in between, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think this would be something cool to add to their repertoire and their
IO
games.
is definitely the second studio I was thinking about making this. But lastly, for me, I would just give it to Rockstar. It could be kind of like a bully situation where it's just like a spin-off game that they're just trying out, giving it that Rockstar look and feel, but then just adding a more contained story than a GTA or a Red Dead.
Now, bear with me. I know we throw this option out a lot, but if we did give it to Kojima, and you think about it, where it was like an assassin, he would just change the time place, and it would still be an island, but everyone would be a spy, not just you. But there would be so many planted agents everywhere.
Isn't that the game we made last week?
No, that game was more comedic. This game would take itself 100% seriously, but with the same premises.
Right.
So it would change it where all of a sudden in this game you're doing a mission for a parrot that has an eye patch and a beard, even though they shouldn't have both, and it's a completely serious character.
Yeah, I'd be down for it. And with that, our 189th IP has gone gold. We hope you look forward to this experience I'll probably never release. You can write to apphoundgames@gmail.com if you have anything to patch into the game we created today. Also, give us feedback. We are still learning how to make this show better, and your feedback really helps. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to back our ideas, please head over to patreon.com/We're Not Game Devs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early and an extra podcast at the beginning, which cut the tail end of our conversation at the beginning of this episode. That's patreon.com/We Are Not Game Devs. If you liked our show, why not subscribe and give us all the stars on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Spotify, YouTube, and more. And if they ask for a review, instead of reviewing our show, become your inner game critic and review Coup, the video game we just created. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next Friday with another new IP. Again, my name is J.E.
And I'm Alex Gonzalez.
Thank you. Please remember that we are not game devs. Coup is a weird word to throw around on its own with zero context. Coup.
Yeah, it's coup, and it's spelled coup,
Yeah.
C-O-U-P, but it's
Right.
coup d'etat, which means overthrow, typically overthrow of government.
And you can't say coupe either, because then you just think of a car,
Right.
At least I do.
And that was just one of those words that I learned when I was a kid, which I thought was cool. Like there was just certain words like coup d'etat I thought was dope, and then like reckless I thought was a cool word.
Reckless. Interesting.
Diminishing returns.
For me, it's always been words that are like hard to spell or like have a lot of same letters in them, like assassin. Mississippi. Yeah. A lot of S's, I guess. I like S's.
S's are my jam.